Last night at about 7:48 p.m., the Fresno Police Department received numerous 911 calls regarding a shooting at 5361 East Lamona. The callers indicated that several people had been shot at this location. Upon arrival, officers immediately began securing the scene and started rendering aid to the victims. This involved multiple victims who had sustained mortal injuries. Officers performed CPR while responding medical aid arrived. This was immediately classified as a mass casualty event because of the number of victims, which meant that each victim's injuries had to be prioritized by the degree of injury. Officers located 10 people who were shot in the backyard at this residence. 3 were pronounced deceased at the scene. The 6 others were transported to local hospitals. Sadly, 1 died in surgery. Our investigation is still very active. We have several follow-up leads that we are currently investigating. I can tell you that there were approximately 30 people at the residence on this evening. They were there having a family party, a get-together, and they were watching football. This party was described as being very peaceful, very quiet, and it was not described as being out of control in any way. It was just a family event. Again, at about 7:48 p.m., at least 2 suspects entered the property from the side of the house. They came through an unlocked gate. They walked into the backyard and began immediately firing into the crowd. There were approximately 16 male adults in the backyard watching football. The witnesses described only seeing flashes of light from the weapon, as it was too dark on that side of the house to see the suspects. 10 of those 16 people at that event were struck by bullets. The unknown suspects fled the scene on foot.
I wanted to tell you just a quick synopsis or a quick briefing of what that neighborhood is where this took place. It's approximately a 10-block neighborhood in the Southeast Policing District, and there are a lot of Hispanic and Southeast Asian families. Of the Southeast Asian families, there is a large number of Hmong families in that neighborhood. What took place last night, just as it shocked my officers that arrived there, has shocked that whole neighborhood. And it's now my job as a Southeast District Commander to make sure that we let them know that we're here with them and we're going to help them through this too, because that entire neighborhood was victimized when this took place. As Chief Farmer has mentioned, beginning within an hour of the incident last night, we were already deploying additional resources to proactively make that area safe, to stabilize the violence, to do everything that we could to ensure that there was no further retaliation that stemmed from this incident. By this morning, we had already pulled 3 of my Southeast Asian officers that work in other special units and have assigned them to the Southeast Investigations Unit to help with translation and just a better feel for what goes on in that neighborhood. We called them out last night, and by 10 p.m., officers that I normally have on day shift that start at 6 in the morning were out last night talking to people and just trying to calm things down and let them know that they're here, and they were doing it in the Hmong language. This is something that Southeast prides itself in, is being able to reach out and connect with our community. This is an emergency now in this neighborhood, and we're doing all we can to calm things down. We will be going door to door on Lamona and some of the other surrounding blocks and speaking with everyone and just letting them know that we are here for them. We want the citizens of Fresno to know that we're doing everything we can to calm the violence and ensure that this doesn't spark in any other neighborhood in Fresno. specifically in that neighborhood where this took place last night. And on top of that, as Chief Hall has mentioned, I'm also working with my officers that responded to this call. A lot of times we miss that piece. Just as I tell you, I'm going to work with that neighborhood to make sure that we let them know that we're there for them and make sure that they're okay. I also want to make sure that my officers are okay. I had 12 officers last night that responded to a scene of chaos and tried to figure out who they could help and prioritize life-saving measures. I had 2 of my officers that were covered in blood and actually had to be decontaminated, go shower, and change their uniforms based on what they landed in and were trying to fix. They're hurting a little bit in that neighborhood right now, and my officers are hurting too. And we're going to do everything we can to get this matter resolved on all levels, as Chief Hall has stressed.
It does indicate that some of the members who were attending the football party were involved in a disturbance during the prior week. We are looking to see if there's a connection between that disturbance and last night's shooting. However, we have no indication that those two are connected at this point.
Is there an online aspect to this football viewing party, and did that have some nexus to this? Was there somebody who realized through an online aspect that they wanted to have retribution on somebody at that party?
We have no indication that this is related to any online event. It does appear to be very targeted, that they were going to this specific address, but it does not at this point appear to be any online connection.
Captain, you referenced a disturbance possibly earlier in the week that may have been related to the perpetrators and their victims. Can you tell us more about that disturbance?
Again, I can't tell you much. It's still an ongoing investigation. All I can tell you is that there were several people at this party who were involved in a disturbance in the week prior, and we're just looking to see if there's a connection. We're not indicating that there is. It's just one of the leads that we're following up on.
Chief, whose house was it?
It was one of the residents of the group. I'm not certain of the name of who owned it, but it was owned by the group that were having the party. Well, my message is one is we're coming for you. We've got a single focus within the organization, and that this is not going to be tolerated in the Southeast community or in any community in Fresno. So we will be out in full force, not only in the district, making sure that incidents don't flare up, but we'll have a combined state, federal, and local effort to apprehend them.
Is there a concern that these suspects may strike again, or do you think it was just a very targeted incident towards the people at the home?
Well, obviously, I'm concerned about any further acts of violence. This suspect or suspects have shown a disregard for human life by just spraying bullets into a crowd of people. Thankfully, the children were inside the house at the time, but they could have just as easily been injured or killed. So obviously, I'm very concerned about further acts of violence.
How many officers do you have on this right now, detectives?
I don't have an actual count, but I would say it's in excess of 60 officers.
Will you be increasing police presence in the neighborhood?
Absolutely. Starting last night, we brought in additional resources into the neighborhood, and those will be increased as we continue our investigation.
The
And you
people
mentioned
you've
that there was-
spoken to who were at this gathering, have they told you that they believe that this was retaliation or gang-related?
Again, they are as concerned and as frightened as I am. They have not indicated that this is related to any gang activity or any retaliation. Again, they've been very cooperative. We have no reason to believe that they aren't giving us every bit of information they have, but we have not had that indication.
And you mentioned that there were multiple shell casings that were found. Can you describe, I think you had mentioned the types of guns or that we know that were used?
Again, all I will tell you right now is that there were multiple weapons used, or multiple shell casings found of different caliber, and they were pistol caliber, not rifle.
Do you have the names of the victims?
I do not have the names of the victims with me right now. I am still waiting to ensure that the family has been properly notified. All I have right now for you is the ages